Hello guys, it's Revolution. So in this video we are going to have a verse battle between the most valuable player of the Tournament of Power, the winner of the Tournament of Power, Android 17, and I guess you could say the would-be winner of the God of Destruction tournament had he not conceded the final fight by allowing Monarca to eliminate him, the Legendary Assassin Hit, hailing from Universe 6. The Legendary Assassin Hit first debuted in the God of Destruction arc in Dragon Ball Super, where he absolutely piped Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta and was doing the same to Goku until Goku bust out the Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 10 for the first time. And the assassin still managed to win that fight, whereas Android 17 first debuted in the Android Saga way back in Dragon Ball Z. However, his return in the Universal Survival arc in Dragon Ball Super was spectacular, and oh my, didn't Android 17 grow in power. This is going to be a battle of infinite energy versus time manipulation. It's also a battle of deadly assassination techniques versus strategical prowess. Let's get to the bottom of who will win out of the Assassin Hit in the infinite energy model Android 17. But first, I want to know your opinions down in the comment section. Who would win in a fight between these two fusions? Super Saiyan 2 Kefla or Analarza? Would Kefla be able to figure out Analarza's weakness? Let me know your thoughts on that down in the comment section. And if you're not subscribed to the channel or you're new to Revolution, do consider hitting that subscribe button. If you love Dragon Ball, you will love this channel, I assure you of that. Keep smashing that like button, keep lending the Daishenken your energy. Every like is truly appreciated. So in this battle between Android 17 and Hit, we are going to start off by analysing the infinite model Android, the MVP of the Tournament of Power, the motherfucking strategic genius, Android 17. So Android 17 returned in episode 86 of Dragon Ball Super. Goku visited Android 17 to ask him to participate in the Tournament of Power. At first, Android 17 wasn't so sure. But before Android 17 came to the decision to participate in the Tournament of Power, we were treated to one brilliant sparring match between him and Goku. Now, he smacked Super Saiyan Goku around, prompting Goku to transform into Super Saiyan Blue. Now, at that time, Goku was scouting around, testing his opponent's power in sparring matches to test their nerve, as we saw against Krillin. And in the manga of Dragon Ball Super, Android 17 was able to keep up with Super Saiyan 3 Goku, not Super Saiyan Blue Goku. However, in the anime, Goku stated that whilst in Super Saiyan Blue, Android 17 was still holding back. Now, writers of the show have also indicated that Goku was simply using Blue to test the opponent, but in the Tournament of Power itself, it became abundantly clear that Android 17 was at Super Saiyan Blue level. The greatest examples of this in the Tournament of Power were against Analarza when he broke Analarza's reactor. Analarza was able to push back Super Saiyan Blue Goku and Vegeta, Golden Frieza, Ultimate Gohan and Android 17. Yet whilst Analarza was definitely stronger than Android 17 in terms of raw power, Android 17 was able to deliver the most damaging blow. Then we also saw against regular Toppo. Toppo acknowledged that he would have to power up into the similar powered up state he fought against Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Goku in the Zeno exhibition match. In that match, Goku was going to break his limits and surpass the Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 10, which was his limit prior to that, and Toppo believed in his powered up state that he could at least match Goku at least Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 10. Of course, Toppo would become a God of Destruction in the Tournament of Power, and Android 17 was vastly overpowered by God of Destruction Toppo. Android 17 was able to use his speed and his smarts to avoid the Hakai energy of God of Destruction Toppo. Of course, Android 17 would be the first to wound the most powerful competitor in the Tournament of Power, Jiren of Universe 11, before even the likes of Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 20 and Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta. In fact, if we hark back to episode 122 of Dragon Ball Super, Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta hit Jiren with a final flash, a power amping technique, and Jiren wasn't wounded despite taking that attack head on. In episode 127, Android 17 wounded Jiren. Now this should tell us something, guys, especially those power scalers out there, that you don't necessarily have to be as powerful as someone just to hurt them. As long as you can get the hit in, you can still harm somebody with a higher power level. But it's abundantly clear that Android 17 has Super Saiyan Blue levels of power. at his disposal, at least in terms of destructive capacity, which means he's stronger than the Super Saiyan God Goku who fought Beerus in Battle of God Saga, meaning that he is beyond universal levels of destructive capacity. Does he have enough power to destroy time, as powerful as he is in the Tournaments of Power? Well, if we hark back to episode 72 of Dragon Ball Super, we saw Super Saiyan Blue Goku, even without the Kaioken, destroy hit time dimension. Now don't get me wrong, Goku didn't exactly destroy an entire time-space continuum, but it was a pocket dimension and it's still beyond three-dimensional capabilities. Don't forget, we also saw Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta destroy the Rumor Spirit in time. Not just once but twice. We saw him do it in the Future Trunks saga before fighting again against Goku Black. Then we saw him do it again in episode 91 of Dragon Ball Super before the Tournaments of Power. The Rumor Spirit in time was described by the Elder Kai as a time dimension in the Buu saga in Dragon Ball Z, the manga. So it goes without saying, Android 17 is pretty damn powerful. Now, Android 17 cannot sense regular ki or godly ki. However, opponents cannot sense Android 17's ki either, because the infinite model androids have a different kind of energy as opposed to regular humans or even Saiyans, and even other alien species for that matter. Now, of course, the big benefit about being an android, especially the type of model that Android 17 is, an infinite model android, means you have an infinite amount of energy. That doesn't mean he can output an infinite amount of energy at once. There is clearly a limit to his attacking potency that he can put out at a given time. However, what his energy is inexhaustible. Even if he uses full power in one punch, even a few minutes later, he wouldn't need to recover his stamina. He would still be at the same power level he was just a few minutes before. And in the Tournament of Power, that's a great example, because Android 17, in terms of attacking output, destructive capacity, Android 17 was just as strong in the last minute of the Tournament of Power as he was in the first 10 seconds of the fight. However, a way to beat an android is you either beat them in one hit, as Toppo acknowledged in episode 125 of Dragon Ball Super, which he nearly did until Frieza intervened, or you physically injure them so that they cannot move. As we saw near the end of the Tournament of Power, Android 17 could barely move because he was so physically injured, but you could still output energy and ki blasts that were harming people like Jiren. But the point I'm trying to make is androids are incredibly difficult to beat. You have to be significantly stronger than them, and even then, in terms of Android 17, Android 17's a motherfucking strategic genius. He demonstrated his smarts multiple times throughout the Tournament of Power. Of course, by this time, after his fight against Ultra Instinct Goku, Jiren was exhausted. In fact, Piccolo's known for his sharp hearing, yet Piccolo was knocked out by a bug, and Android 17 was able to pick up on the movements of the bug by the sounds it made. His senses are simply next level. You could say superhuman, obviously sharpened through his many years working as a park ranger. Now, of course, one of Android 17's most devastating moves is actually a defensive technique called the Android Barrier. The most devastating thing about this move is you could exert a lot of energy hitting Android 17. If he blocks it with the Android Barrier, guess how much energy he's wasted? Nothing, because he has inexhaustible energy, whereas you've just wasted a huge amount of energy trying to attack Android 17. Now, the barrier in the Daizenshu states that a move must be twice as powerful as the barrier in the first place to destroy it. Given how strong Android 17 is, that means you have to exhaust an incredible amount of energy. Now, if you get caught within Android 17's barrier, he can use explosive techniques to harm you as well as create multiple barriers in order to defend against a strong opponent, as he did against Jiren. Even though Jiren technically destroyed all of those barriers, if he was using it against somebody weaker, it would be an extremely impressive ability to use. He can even use his barrier technique to burrow through larger, more powerful ki blasts, as he did against Analarza, burrowing through Analarza's blast that was pushing back not only himself, Goku, Vegeta as Super Saiyan Blues, Golden Frieza and Ultimate Gohan. He can even use self-destructive techniques that, whilst they do hurt him, they are extremely powerful explosions that don't quite kill him. Against Ribrian and Friends, Android 17 showed that he knew how to use his surroundings to his advantage, and he also showed that he will not wait for his opponent to transform. He doesn't share the same sentiment the likes of Goku and Toppo did. Quite simply put, Android 17 is an intelligent, agile, powerful, inexhaustible strategist that is incredibly difficult to beat. So can the legendary assassin hailing from Universe 6, Hit, find a way to destroy hard to defeat android, let's take a look at Hit's power and abilities. The legendary assassin Hit made his debut in the God of Destruction arc between Universe 7 and Universe 6. Even to this day, post the Tournament of Power, post the Broly movie, we don't know that much about the legendary assassin Hit. He's quite a mysterious character. Of course, you would imagine that he would be a mysterious character considering he's a legendary assassin. But in his first demonstration of power against Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta, Hit used his time manipulating abilities to absolutely trolley Vegeta. Now credit to Vegeta, Vegeta may have been tired after previous fights against Universe 6's Vegeta and Super Saiyan Cabba, and of course he was completely unprepared for what Hit was about to bring to the table. But with Hit employing the time skip, he absolutely took Vegeta apart. Once again, fair play to Vegeta, because even whilst tired, he managed to take some blows from Hit, which Hit acknowledged, and using the time skip, Hit was able to aim for Vegeta's vital points, which obviously causes far more damage than just a regular hit, ultimately incapacitating his opponent with every single hit Hit lands. So after Hit's first fight in the God of Destruction tournament, Hit was already impressive. Not only could he wield time manipulating techniques and use his time manipulating abilities as an equalizer, if not surpassing his opponent's superior power. As the Dragon Ball Super manga suggests, admittedly it wasn't advocated as much in the anime, but it's definitely something to take into account. But the fact that he could also incapacitate his opponents, hitting their vital points, basically landing critical hits against his unsuspected foes. And it also must be noted that he was holding back in this fight. He wasn't using the full range of his assassination abilities. Of course, after witnessing this fight against Vegeta, it was noted to Goku what exactly Hit was doing. He was using the time skip, and Goku was able to go into this fight prepared for the time skip. Now, it did take him a while to get used to what the time skip was and find a way to counteract it, but Goku did manage to counteract it after a while using Super Saiyan Blue. Though this should point out that whilst Hit is an adept strategist, he isn't quite the levels of Goku in terms of martial arts strategy. However, despite having the edge strategically over Hit, Goku still felt that he needed to power up further to get the victory, using Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken for the first time, putting his body on the line basically, and he eventually used Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken to a degree of 10 times, Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 10. Now, this ability I'm about to mention is where Hit impressed me the most. Of course, when Goku first used Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 10, he couldn't even follow Goku's movements. However, the legendary assassin has an ability called Pure Progress, which allows him to increase all of his time manipulating abilities and combat abilities at an impressive rate, prompting Vegeta to say that Hit is growing even faster than the Saiyans themselves. Now, to do this, it appears that Hit has to charge up in order to increase all of his abilities, and it does seem to have a limit as he didn't use this ability against Jiren in the Tournament of Power. I can only assume that Jiren's power difference was far too great, which is why he resorted to the technique he did, which we'll get to in a moment. But first, I just want to talk about the rematch against Goku on planet Earth during episodes 70 to 72 of Dragon Ball Super, when Goku hired Hit to literally assassinate him. Now remember, Goku was prepared for this. He was in his Super Saiyan Blue state, and of course, he threw an energy beam up in the air, which would eventually return him to life after Hit literally killed Goku in one blow. This is how devastating Hit is as an assassin. As I've mentioned many times before, you have to be a lot stronger than somebody to literally one-shot them, but Hit literally did it here. Obviously, Hit is trained and primed with his assassination abilities to optimize his hits for killing, and he demonstrated that here. Goku, of course, returned to life, and then we got to see an actual martial arts fight between them, where Goku was able to match Hit this time without using Blue Kaioken, and this fight ultimately ended in a draw. But Hit demonstrated even more impressive techniques during this rematch against Goku. For example, we saw Hit use ki clones, and he even demonstrated that he could bring his opponent into his time skip, where Vados actually told us that Hit isn't actually stopping time, but throughout the course of his life, he's literally storing time and creating his own personal time dimension, which he can step into and out of at will. But if Hit is in that personal dimension of his and he brings you into it, time outside of this dimension does stand still. Hit can even use intangibility, where his physical body is transferred into this parallel world in order to avoid his opponent's attack, but he still has a mirage of himself in the real world, tricking his opponents into attacking the mirage, dealing Hit no damage, giving him time to assess his opponent. Hit is also capable of surviving in the vacuum of space, and in episode 72, he travelled back to Universe 6 on his own accord, proving that he is capable of multi-universal travel, which he did in a very short period of time, proving that Hit is massively faster than light. However, despite Hit's incredible speed, he did demonstrate a weakness come the Tournaments of Power when fighting against Universe 11 speedster Dispo. Dispo was able to use his extreme sense of hearing to gain an advantage over Hit because he was able to hear Hit's slight movements before using the time skip, as Hit has to make a certain slight movement to initialize the time skip abilities. Without Goku's help, Hit simply would have been eliminated from the Tournaments of Power before he even got to Jiren. So I guess you can say, despite the fact that Hit's time skip abilities are incredibly impressive, with prior knowledge to time skip, there are ways to counteract it, and I guess you could say use it against Hit. But you've either got to be a genius strategist, a genius martial artist, or be incredibly quick like Dispo. However, that's not all Hit has up his sleeve, because against Jiren in an epic fight in episode 111 of Dragon Ball Super, Hit demonstrated that he can use a Phantom Fist. He can literally punch his opponent from a direction without it visibly appearing in real time, and it will literally land on the opponent, as he did against Jiren. And obviously with this he is able to initiate the time cage. If he lands this on you, it ultimately traps the opponent in time. This is an insane ability to have. If he used it against anyone other than Jiren in the Tournament of Power, they would most likely have been eliminated from the tournament, and I'm including Goku in that. Obviously not Ultra Instinct Goku, but Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 20 Goku. It was simply Jiren that was able to overpower this technique. As it was explained, Jiren's power transcends time. But it must be said, in terms of personality, Hit is quite an honourable guy despite his job being an assassin, but that's what it is, it's his job. Despite being an assassin and being an antagonist in Dragon Ball Super, he is not inherently evil. He does enjoy a fair fight. But just to conclude, Hit is a deadly assassin with a wide array of time manipulating abilities, with an array of assassination techniques. He is Super Saiyan Blue level, if not beyond. If anything, against Jiren he performed better than Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 20, arguably even Ultra Instinct Omen Phase 1. However, that was simply because of the time cage technique. It's still debatable whether or not Hit, in terms of raw power or attacking potency through physicality, I'm confident it is at least at Super Saiyan Blue Goku levels, but beyond Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 20, I highly doubt it. Let me know your thoughts on that. Anyway, let's decide who wins this. Now, to be honest guys, as you know, I've done a lot of verse battles on this channel, interfictional verse battles against other verses, as well as plenty of Dragon Ball battles, but this is the hardest one to analyse from a strategical viewpoint, because these two have so much to offer strategically, especially in terms of their attacks, techniques, and hacks abilities at their disposal. Now, I'm just going to say this before I come to my conclusion. Android 17 vs Piccolo in Dragon Ball Z was one of the best fights in Dragon Ball Z because it was a very strategical fight with two characters at similar power levels. I want to see Hit vs Android 17 in Dragon Ball Super return. I think it will be an absolutely fantastic fight. Now, this is a battle of small margins. Of course, if Hit was hired to assassinate Android 17, I think he would be able to do that with no difficulty. I'm sure Hit would actually be able to assassinate any of the mortals we've seen in Dragon Ball Super if they didn't know he was coming after them. Of course, Goku knew and he still almost got killed, and obviously you could look at Jiren and say how powerful he is, and maybe even Broly, but I think Hit would analyse that opponent and find a way and catch them off guard. However, this isn't an assassination, it's a 1 vs 1 fight, and Android 17 will know about Hit's abilities and vice versa. However, I will also say that if Android 17 didn't know about Hit's time skip and his time manipulating abilities, he would have a very slim chance of winning this fight. Even Jiren knew about the time skip before he faced off against the Legendary Assassin. Now, initially when I was asked to make this battle, I thought Hit would win quite comfortably, but I've changed my mind. I think Android 17 wins by a small margin, but it's going to be a long and difficult drawn out fight. Both of them are around Super Saiyan Blue power level. Both of them might even be slightly beyond that, but they are probably at similar power levels. If anything, you could say Hit's the big hitter due to his assassination abilities and his critical hits. Whilst Hit is clever, Android 17 is simply a strategical genius. Android 17 would certainly be on the defensive in the early parts of the fight, but with intelligent use of his android barrier, he will simply wear Hit out. Of course, the time skip will cause Android 17 problems, but he is strong enough to destroy those parallel dimensions, as was Super Saiyan Blue Goku in episode 72. But the difference between Android Android 17 and Goku is that Android 17 won't tire out. However, the reason I've said this is a small margin victory is because there's every chance that Hit may be able to land the time cage, and if that is the case, it's lights out for Android 17. But given that he was able to dodge God of Destruction Toko's Hakai blasts, I'm quite confident that Android 17 would be able to evade Hit's time cage as well. Now, of course, Hit could always use pure progress, but as we discussed earlier, Android 17 isn't just going to stand around and let that happen. Hit simply has to finish this fight as quickly as possible. The longer this fight goes on, the more likely it is that Android 17 wins this fight. And given how smart Android 17 is, I think he pulls this off. Albeit taking quite a few injuries, because I do think Hit will land some blows, just not quite the time cage. But as we know, Android 17 can still attack you at full power with ki blasts. Despite being injured, you literally have to basically one-shot 17. And without the element of surprise, given what we currently know about Hit, I'm not sure how he pulls that off. Anyway, I know there's going to be a lot of you that disagree with me. Like I said, this is a very, very close fight, very close margins. I literally am 51% Android 17, 49% Hit. I've to and froed from either one winning this fight, but I'm going to conclude with Android 17. Let me know your thoughts down on this in the comment section. If you disagree, that's fine, but let me know why. Keep it polite. Hit that like button, lend me your energy. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Until next time, Ad Astra.